Good evening, boys and girls. It's Joe here from Snake Draft FPL, and we are live. Can I just get a message in the chat? Just let me know if you can hear me properly, if you can see me properly. Let's just make sure everything's working. I did have some technical difficulties. I made an absolute rookie error when I started the stream. I accidentally so I started the stream in OBS, linked it to YouTube, hit start stream. It kind of froze for a split second, so I clicked it again. The start stream changed to stop stream, and I instantly ended the stream. So I managed to do like a 1 second stream, then had to quickly reset everything up. Got me all hot and bothered, under the collar. So I am now fully ready to go. I've had to go and crack open a new beer Friday night, so deadline tomorrow, but it's all good. We're ready to go. So tonight I was going to have a couple of guests on, but in the end I didn't have time to set it up, so I am flying solo. I think a couple of them are going to join in the chat later on. The plan for tonight is I'm going to take questions from the chat as always. I've had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 12 or 13 teams to rate from Twitter, YouTube comments, a couple of questions as well. So I'm going to go through those. Obviously going to go through anything in the chat as well. So if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. If I don't spot them straight away, I will probably get to them. If you put a question in and it gets to quite a long time after and I haven't answered it, just say in the chat that I haven't answered it and send it again. But I'm hoping to get through everything. Famous last words. Probably going to go for about just under 2 hours, I reckon. Probably finish about 10 p.m. our time. So without any further ado, let's get stuck straight into the stuff I have had sent in. We'll go from there, and then we will take some questions after that. So let's have a look what we have got here. I will just change the screen over. Perfect. Right, so Libra the God asks, this was a YouTube comment. Rate my team, 9-person league. I had 7th pick. So his forwards are Darwin, Wilson, Tony, midfield, Grealish, Bailey, Andreas Pereira, Odegaard, Ericsson. Defenders are... One second, my dog is stealing something from the bin. Lola, excuse me. Sorry about that. Defenders are Trent, Trippier, Perisic, Azpilicueta, and Nico Williams. Probably going to be Ake, he says. Goalkeepers are Raya and Meslier. I think this is... Let's have a look. I think this is pretty good. The front line I really like. Darwin, Wilson, Tony, I think is probably about as good as you could hope for in a 9-person league. That is very solid. I wouldn't want to get rid of any of them unless it was a really good trade. Midfield is a little bit weaker. Grealish, Bailey, Andreas Pereira, Odegaard, Ericsson, all decent picks. Grealish I think is obviously good. Andreas Pereira I think is a little bit underrated. I think he's actually going to do really well this year. Odegaard I like. Bailey's a tough one. They did not look good, did they, on the opening day, Villa? But it's only one game. I think sometimes we have to remind ourselves at the end of game week 1 everything changes, but really a lot of stuff doesn't change. You know, you just have to kind of settle down a little bit, wait and see how they get on after a couple more games. So yeah, midfield is a little bit weaker, but still good. Ericsson, I'm just not sure what the whole deal is with Ericsson. So yeah, have to wait and see on him a little bit, I think. But still, you know, good 5th mid, I'd say. The defence looks really strong. Trent, Trippier, Perisic is really good. Azpilicueta and Neco Williams are good bench options as well. This is a really strong team. 9-team league, I'd expect him to do quite well. Goalkeepers, Raya and Meslier, very good indeed. So yeah, I do think, yeah, good good team there from Libra. Yeah. The only thing is he's gonna trade in Neco Williams for Ake. There's not like an obvious transfer spot in the team. Like I quite like having someone that I'm comfortable to trade in and out, depending on the fixture. I suppose you could do that with potentially Ericsson, Neco Williams / Ake. You can definitely do that with Bailey maybe as well if Villa don't look too good. But yeah, it's a good team. Quick question from the chat. Should I start Cucurella or Doherty for my FPL draft? I would say Doherty I think both teams will score in this game. So the chances of a clean sheet are kind of slim. I would expect both players to start. I think Doherty is more likely to get an attacking return, so I would start Doherty. But preferably, it's tough. The problem is you're kind of at risk for one. I think both of them are pretty similar in terms of risk. I think Doherty just has slightly higher attacking upside. Elise could be back Monday. Is he an ad in 14 team? Elise, what is there a prognosis on Elise? I tried to look in the press conferences today about Elise. Let me just get up injury newsroom and see if there is an update that I missed from this afternoon. All Premier League injuries. In fact, I will put this on the screen quickly now. Stand by, everyone. I will do this and then this. So this is Premier League injuries. It's run by Ben Dinnery, who is kind of a Twitter legend, really. He kind of shows he covers all the injury news, and whenever the press conferences happen, he will update this table to show you kind of potential return dates, any details, anything that's missed. So Elise, August 12th, Michael trained all week with the team, so there's a chance he will be in the squad. Okay, so it's a late fitness test. He'll be in the squad. I would imagine that means he starts from the bench. In that case, if you need someone that's going to play this week, I wouldn't pick him up. If you've already got a starting 11 that's good, then you could pick him up, bench him this week, and then you'd have him set ready for next week. So that would be my advice there, to be honest. Potentially pick him up for this week, but probably going to be a bench option for this week. What else have we got in the chat? Should I start? I've done that one. Guedes and Neto in my team. Is 2 Wolves a decent idea going forward? This is a tough call, and there does come a point in FPL draft quite often that you will find you have 2 players from the same team and they're not always the best of teams, and you do really think, oh, do I really want both of these? Now this is an ideal time to make a trade, if you don't want to put all your eggs in the Wolves basket, especially at the start of the season when we don't know that much about teams. I would definitely try and put the feeders out for a trade of someone of players of a similar sort of level for one of them. I think Guedes and Neto are going to be pretty similar, to be honest. I would expect a similar level from each of them. So I would try and trade one of them, but they're both decent picks. They've got really good fixtures, so there's no mad rush, especially if they do well in the good fixtures. You could then get a better trade for one of them. So you might want to keep them for the first few weeks. And then see how it goes. My front 3 is Ronaldo, Darwin and Firmino in a 10-man league. Should I try to trade Firmino before this week, or wait after this week and hope he starts? I quite like that you've got the handcuff of Darwin and Firmino, because obviously you're definitely going to get the starter. But the problem is, because they're going to sub on for one another, you kind of have to commit and play both, which means you're also guaranteed the bench point for whichever one doesn't start. I mean, you kind of in a bit of a sticky wicket there. I'll be honest with you, I'm not particularly high on the Firmino pick. I think it would not surprise me to see a lot of people start getting rid. I just think it looks like the team functions better without him. I mean, he was always so good because Salah and Mane were both greedy and tried to get in behind and didn't want to create. So he was perfect for them. Diaz is a completely different dynamic to Mane, and I don't think Firmino and Diaz work well together because they both trying to drop into the same spaces, and then you've only got Salah stretching. Whereas I think Diaz works better with Darwin or Jota for that matter. So that is quite a tough one. I'd probably, if there's a good player on waivers, I'd bin Firmino. I just don't see him playing that much while Diaz is in the team. I just don't think it works. I think it would actually work better with Jota wide and Firmino in the middle. Elise's back in the squad next week per Vieri. Okay, yeah, we've gone through that. 5-person draft. Attackers are Son, Mount, Grealish, Foden, Bailey, Mitrovic, Darwin and Jesus. Which attacker would you bench? That's really tough. For me, it's between Mount and Bailey. I wouldn't like to bench Mount, really, because he can return at any time, and he's actually probably going to have a bit of space against Spurs. So I would probably, in that scenario, bench Leon Bailey, I think. 1 second, I'm just going to go. My dog has just wandered off with something that she's stolen from the bin, which is never ideal. 1 second. What are you doing? False alarm. I should have trusted her. Okay, next question. Check Twitter DMs, please. Sent my team, need your help. Yeah, it's coming up. It is coming up. I'm pretty sure I have got you on there. Yeah, it'll be coming up. Don't worry. Okay. Do you think Tierney will start? No. I think they'll ease him back. The injuries have been dodgy, and yeah, I think it'll be a slow burn with Tierney. I foresee. I mean, he might. You know, he looks like he's fit, which is kind of the baseline. So he could well start. I personally don't think he will. I think it'll be a few weeks. Thoughts on my draft players: Foden, Mahrez, Coutinho, Watkins, Lengai. Decent picks, I'd say. Problem, I guess you're worried about. I guess you are worried about Villa with a double up, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. Really, not much you can do about it. I'm in a 9-man league. No one has even bothered picking up Body. He's dead now. Yeah, agree. Firmino's dead, in my opinion. Manufacturing a favourable trade. Would you take Bowen or Mahrez in this situation? Would you take Bowen or Mahrez in the situation? Similarly, Antonio or Wilson? I would take Mahrez. Oh, my dog is having a field day. Come on, settle down, please. That's tough. I would probably take Mahrez over Bowen. Wilson definitely over Antonio. I need a mid this week. Can't choose between Almiron, Aronson or Aribo. I would take Almiron personally. Or Aronson. Or, I mean, they're all good picks. All three of the A's. All good picks. I would probably take Almiron for this week specifically. Although I think Leeds Saints may be very open. So, it's tough. I think Almiron's the better... Although, it depends. Have a look at next week's fixtures as well, because obviously Newcastle have City and Liverpool in 3 and 5, which isn't ideal. So maybe one of the others, but I think it's pretty close. Should I drop a meal? I mean, he's back in the squad. Should be back in the squad this week. Sinistera, I think, will start on the bench this week. So if you need someone for this week, I probably wouldn't go for him. Guedes, I think, is going to be a pretty decent pick going forward. Joelinton, a little bit more reserved. I think you've got to be a little bit more jammy to get the attacking returns, but I do like it. Hey, do you feel comfortable starting Jacob Ramsey as a 4th mid this week, or is he more of a wait and see if you have other options? I am a little bit nervous that Jacob Ramsey doesn't start, mainly because of the kind of performance they put in against Bournemouth. It's a kind of performance that you see, I don't know, Ramsey... I wouldn't love to have to start him. In fact, I dropped him in a couple of leagues this week, just because there was decent options available. So, yeah, not convinced, but it depends who you're benching him over, right? Bowen, yeah. Would you drop John Stones in a 10-team league? I would. I just don't think he's going to start enough. That's what it comes down to, really. The problem with John Stones is, if he starts, you're still only really hoping for a clean sheet. It's not like he's Perisic, who has really high attacking threat. So I find you can normally find at least a 50-50 shot at a clean sheet on the waivers. Like someone like I would say what are the fixtures this week off the top of my head, but you can normally find someone that looks like a 50-50 at a clean sheet, or at least like 40% chance for a clean sheet, and I don't think there's 40% chance that Stone starts, so I'd get rid personally. My front three are Mitro, Watkins and Mbeumo. Should I drop Mbeumo for Johnson or Armstrong? I do quite like Mbeumo. I've got a bit of a soft spot for him, really. But Johnson is on pens, but their fixtures are horrible. I'd probably keep Mbeumo for a few weeks and hope no one picks up Johnson. Then I think the fixtures kind of swap about game week 5, game week 6. Then do the switch, in my opinion. 8-person draft, 7th pick. Any major weaknesses? De Gea, Sanchez. There's no weakness there, I wouldn't say. Cash, Gabriel, Tierney, Romero, Kufau for now. Bruno, Mount, JWP, Gomeres, Podence, Kane, Jota, Mitrovic. I find it... no major weaknesses. Good all-round, good team. I just find it interesting how well drafted Bruno Gomeres is, and I know he went on that spell last year, but John Joe Shelby's injured at the moment, so he is playing defensive midfield. So yeah, obviously he's an unbelievable player. Probably one of the best centre midfielders in the league, to be honest. I mean, how much would United pay for him right now? That he's like the exact player they need. But yeah, I don't. The midfield is probably the weakest area, but I think the whole team is pretty good. Who do you think will start, Cucurella or Chilwell? I couldn't say. I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's more likely... I think the most likely scenario is Chilwell starts left wing back, Cucurella starts left centre back, and they both start. I think it's probably more likely Chilwell starts at wing back, is what I'd say. But I don't know. It's a coin toss at this stage. Should I keep Ake and Doherty in first 11 this week? Ake, yes, definitely. Doherty depends on who you've got on the bench. Hi, I have Trent, James, Cancelo and want to take out Perisic. Shall I keep or get Zinchenko /Saliba /Walker /Gabriel? Okay. I would keep Perisic for sure. I think there will be a period in the season where he is getting 10 points a week. It will be frustrating that he will get 1-pointers, but he will be worth it, in my opinion, definitely. Thoughts on 10-man draft? Areola, Trippier, Cash, Martinez, Target. Trippier, Cash, Martinez, Target. KDB, Madison, Bowen, Zaha, Tony, Wilson, Sanchez, Firmino, Jorginho, Lansbury. Thanks so much. Yeah, that's a good team. I don't love the United defender really, but you can't drop a United defender, right? So I get it. Like, you draft him and now you've got him, and Brentford on paper looks like a good fixture. I don't really think they're going to get a clean sheet this week, but I get why you'd play him, especially as your bench is as Piliqueta, so not ideal. And you're not really going to want to play Firmino or Jorginho either. So I get why. But yeah, so that's a pretty good team. Thoughts on Jota? What a tough one. Jota's easier. Keep. Good idea to wait until he's back in trade bait for a nailed-on forward. Yeah, or just keep him. I mean, now is probably the worst time to trade Jota. If you own Jota right now, I think you just sit on him. If you don't own Jota, now might be a good time to get a cut price deal for him. Because I just think, like, his value is going to go way up when he's back from injury. And it's frustrating now to just have a good player red flag in your bench, and you want to trade him, get someone in, win a couple of game weeks early on. But the best thing to do is honestly just sit on him. Stupid dog. The best thing to do. Stand by. What is wrong with you? Sit down. Classic. Best thing to do with Jota is just keep him. There's just no upside getting rid now unless someone is giving you something silly. Something I like to do sometimes is like set a lineup with him in it and look how good your team looks, right? And that's how it will look in a few weeks when he's back. So yeah, now's probably not the time to get rid unless you're having an injury crisis and you desperately need a trade. Who would you go for between Neto, Podence, Dewsbury Hall? Neto for me. Going back to Firmino thing, I'm just going to trade off Firmino, Barnes, Walker, Jota, Diaz, and Aït-Nouri. Oh, Jota, Diaz, and Aït-Nouri is the winner by far. Take that and run. If that's been offered to you. Hi Joe, would you waiver out? Who would you waiver out for Aït-Nouri? Laporte, Matip, Sessegnon, Burn, and Cash. Probably. Tough one. Burn looks like he's going to start this week, at least. I think Botman will come in eventually for Burn. But for the time being, he looks like a good pick. Matip, I don't think you can get rid of. Or Laporte. Probably Sessegnon. Eventually, he's going to lose his place. And as tough as it is, you don't really want to start him this week. And then he may not play much for a few weeks when Perisic comes in. So it is a tough one. But if you need someone for this week, probably Sessegnon. And Burma is playing wing-back second half. Wesley. Yeah, I know. But I'm not convinced that's where he's going to play the majority of his games. I think they're going to play a 4-3-3 more often than not. I know they look better when they switch, but also Leicester looks significantly worse after their subs. So we'll have to wait and see. Again, I don't want to read too much into game week 1. Is it more important to focus on the defence or midfield first in a draft? Midfield is more important than defence. I wouldn't worry too much about positions and just pick the best available player, but I would say midfield is definitely more important. Are you sure Tierney is really worth keeping over someone like Semedo who always starts? I'm not convinced Tierney is really worth keeping. I just am not sure what's going to happen. I think Tierney's a better left back than Zinchenko, and I think eventually Tierney will play left back. If you need starts early doors, I think then I would maybe look at switching him. Ake will play from the start. Yeah, Ake will start. I'm reasonably confident. Hi Joe, would you waiver out Lingard or Eriksen? Eriksen, I think, is probably the better long-term option, but his fixtures are tough. They look like they're adjusting. If you need a mid, I'd probably get rid of Lingard. It pains me to say it. Do you think getting Wissa is a good option? Wissa it's tough again. They've got so many players fighting for that spot. I think he'll probably start. Well, I'm not convinced. Brentford are really hard to predict at the moment, and there's just always a chance he just doesn't play. So Wissa is a tough one. It depends how big your league is. If it's an 8-man league, I say it's probably not a good option. If it's a 12-man league, I say probably is. I appreciate the helmet. Thanks. We're thinking the same about Gomes yet. Worth switching for someone like Aronson or Guedes. I think Guedes would be my preference. Aronson looks good as well. I mean, Aronson's someone that I've kind of not really covered that much. Mainly because I just don't want to make too much of a guess about him too early. And I'm just not... When Sinistera's back, I'm assuming Aronson plays 10, Harrison's on the left, Sinistera's on the right, or the other way around. the wingers. But they've also got Dan James, who's back from suspension now as well. I'm assuming he just doesn't start. They've also got Rodrigo, played pretty well against Wolves, but I'm assuming he goes to the bench. But we don't really know. So yeah, just wary about Leeds a little bit. I'm considering dropping one of Neves or Fornals for players in free agency. Gray, Wissam, McGinn, Hwang, Vieira, Cornet. What should I do? I could see dropping Neves as a decent idea. Cornet could be a great pick. He could also play wing back and just not be that attacking. I'm not a fan of Ruben Neves for fantasy. He gets the odd set piece return, but in open play he doesn't really do anything. So I'm not keen on him. There are a few good options there. I think Wissers, as I kind of already talked about him. Gray looks okay. I'm not a big fan of Everton attack really. McGinn I think is a decent option as long as Villa sort themselves out. Hwang may lose his place when Guedes comes in. I'm not certain what's going to happen there. Fabio Vieira I don't think is an option at the moment. So it's a tough one. I'd probably look to move Neves on, in my opinion. Wolves do have good fixtures, but even so. If you drop Stones, then would you add Ben Davis, Lewis Dunk, Kurt Zuma, or Ezri Konsa? I wouldn't add Konsa. I would probably go for... I'd probably go for Dunk. I think Brighton defence is just underrated. I think it's a really good defence. Dunk is nailed. He's pretty good at attacking set pieces. I'd probably go for Dunk. Maybe Ben Davis, I think, is probably... If they're guaranteed to start, I think Ben Davis is probably the best, but we don't really know if he's going to start. Do you think Ben White is going to keep his spot at right back once Tomiyasu is fully fit? That is the golden question. I own Ben White in about 4 leagues. I think there's a good chance Tomiyasu is out for a bit longer than we expect. That's not really an answer to your question, but he strikes me as the type that gets an injury and it keeps kind of lengthening how long he's out for. It wouldn't surprise me to see, even once he's fit, Ben White stay as the right back, mainly just because the way we're playing at the moment, it's Arsenal are playing at the moment. It's a 4-2, it's a 4-3-3, but it's also a 5 at the back. So what happens is Ben White kind of shifts into a back 3 with Saliba and Gabriel, and then Saka's almost a right wing back, which isn't. It sounds bad for fantasy, but it's not really, because he's playing very far forward. But he's kind of shifts to a back 3. Zinchenko and Saka are playing on either side, and then it's Xhaka, Partey and Odegaard in the midfield 3, with kind of Martinelli and Jesus swapping positions. That's why I think Martinelli's such a good pick. And Tomiyasu doesn't do that job as well as Ben White. So I do think there's a good chance Ben White keeps his place. I also think it'll be a nightmare scenario where Arteta will want one for one game and one for another game, and it's hard to tell which one he's gonna do. That's the only problem. Best Brentford defender to own for attacking return possibility, I would say Rico Henry. I think he's just good. I think he's a really good player. I could see him getting a move to a decent team. Semedo, Janssen, or Mitchell. Mitchell's probably the best pick out of the 3-ish, but his fixtures are terrible, so I'd probably go Semedo as long as he is going to start. Let me just check my trusty. Do we think I don't know what's happening with Semedo. I mean, he's still a doubt. If he started, I'd say Semedo, but I'm just not sure if he's going to start. Thoughts on my draft team: Ramsdale, Meslier, Ake, Matip, Cucurella, Doherty, Mount, Kulusevski, St. Max, Rodrigo, Haaland, Samaka, and Ketia. I don't know how big the league is, so pop in there how big your league is. But I would say this is a pretty well-rounded team. My guess would be like 10-man. would be my guess. And I would say that's a good team. 10 man. Oh, I'm getting good at this. I like the keepers. Defense is good. Midfield, Mount, Kulusevski, St. Max. I'm not too keen on Rodrigo. Like I said, I just think he might lose his place. And I don't love the Nketiah pick. But there may just be no one better on waivers, which I understand it gets tough for 10-man leagues. But keep an eye out on that. You got Wisser as well. Yeah, it's good. It's a good team. I'm going to ignore Connor in the chat because he's trying to... I picked up Guedes today in our Snake Draft FPL League. Connor couldn't believe I'd used a waiver on him. Good pick, in my opinion. Ward is my keeper. Worth keeping or bin him off for Areola? I prefer Areola, personally. 10-man leagues are all starting keepers are taken. I think Areola will be the starting keeper. Should I drop Anderson for 8 Nori? Anderson is the better long-term pick, but his fixtures are absolutely horrendous. So I would probably do the swap if you need a starter. If it's just for the bench, if you can afford to hide Anderson for a few weeks, then I would hide him. But if you can't, then I'd do the swap. Is Laporte worth getting in on a waiver despite his current injury? Would be for Christensen. Again, same thing. I mean, this is kind of the thing with all injured players. Are your fixtures good enough that you can afford to bench them? If you can, then great, bench him. I mean, if Laporte is free on waivers, I'd pick him up. I think he's good enough to pick up. But you have to make sure your other 4 defenders are all nailed and they all have a decent run of fixtures. Or they have good attacking threat. Partey is ridiculously underrated. I mean, he's an unbelievable player. Unbelievable player. I'm not convinced he's good for fantasy, but he is an unbelievable player. Fernandes and Martinelli for Diaz and Maddison. Fernandes and Martinelli for Diaz and Maddison. I think... I'd hate to say it, but I think Diaz and Maddison. I hate to say it, but yeah, I think Diaz and Maddison for me. I think Diaz is a better pick than Fernandes, and Maddison's probably at least as good as Martinelli, probably better. Would you suggest to drop Bailey or Neto for Gross? No, I wouldn't. I know Pascal Gross had an unbelievable game against United, got a load of points. I don't see that happening every week. Scamacca and Nketiah as forwards seems risky. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I think Scamacca takes the spot, personally. Maybe not straight away, but within a few weeks, in my opinion. So I don't mind that one as much. But yeah, coupled up with Nketiah, it does seem risky. 14 team looks like Henderson, Romero, Koulibaly, Webster, KDH, Sancho, Lingard, Bruno G, Almiron, Haaland, Havertz, Guedes, I think bottom on the bench. It's a good team. 14 team league, that is a good team. I pretty much like every pick. Don't really have much to say to that, to be honest. It's just a good team. My kind of team, that. Which side of trade would you take in a 10-man league? Emerson Royale and Podence or Koulibaly and Gundogan? I would take Koulibaly and Gundogan every day. Every day. And that's not even... I don't even think that's close, personally. If you've been offered that, take it. If you're thinking of offering it, just pull it back. I mean, Gundogan is a better pick than Podence, I think. I know Podence plays fast forward, but he just seems like, you know... He doesn't seem like the person that's going to get loads of returns. And I think Koulibaly's... Emerson's just not nailed, is he? Conte doesn't really like him, which I don't like. Okay, let's get back to a couple of the screenshots that I have selected. I'm going to do a few more of these, then I'll come back to questions from the chat. So, I dropped Gibbs White for Lanzini this week. Thoughts on it? Oh, a bit risky. I like Gibbs White. I like Lanzini as well, but once Cornet's in, I'm just not convinced on the starts. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Okay. can you rank my team? So this was a YouTube comment. Sanchez, Henderson, Robertson, Gabriel, Malacia, Cash, Laporte, Martinelli, Grealish, Andreas Pereira, Trossard, Rodrigo, Darwin, Johnson, Alvarez. So he's playing on DFF because he's got a flex position, which I love to see. I like having just Sanchez. I think that's perfectly fine. Oh no, he has Henderson as well. Sorry, Sanchez and Henderson. Robertson, Gabriel, Malacia, Cash, Laporte. Am I losing the plot here? Oh no, he only does have 3 forwards. Ignore me. This is an FPL draft. Robertson, Gabriel, Malacia, Cash, Laporte is a good defence. I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of United defenders, but I get it. I understand it. I just don't want any part of it personally. Martinelli, Grealish, Andreas Pereira, Trossard, Rodrigo. Again, the Rodrigo pick I find a little bit scary. Darwin, Johnson, Alvarez is pretty good. You can't really ask for too much better than that, I don't think. So yeah, this is a good team. Okay, this is a great question, this next one. This question really intrigued me. So what's your thought on injured players? I noticed no one picked up Laporte in our draft. Is he worth getting in the waiver? So basically just injured players in general. It is a really fine line and probably the most difficult thing in fantasy when to when to keep injured players and when to pick them up and when to drop them. It is probably the thing that swings leagues the most is injury timing. And that's why I think keeping up to date on injuries is such an underrated thing in fantasy that people just don't really do that much. And like keeping on top of when players are coming back, what the timelines are for like the long-term boys can be really good. Now, as I said earlier, you have to be able to hide the injured player. There's no point. I've done it before where I've picked up someone for like 3 or 4 weeks thinking I'm going to get him early because he's injured. He's going to be back in a month or so. I want him when he's back. Having him for like 2 weeks and then realising I need to drop him because I need someone to play that week because my fixtures are horrendous and I don't want to waste a week just because of this injured player. Then you drop him and then someone else gets him anyway, so it was all a waste of time. So that timing is crucial and you need to make sure your fixtures are good enough that you can carry a player. Also, just a quick aside, 23 views at the moment, only 5 likes. Come on boys, hit the like button. What are you doing? Like the video. So yeah, it is really important injury timing, and Laporte, it depends on the upside as well. Laporte has pretty high upside, so if you have him, you want him, but you need to be ruthless with the other spots to make sure you've got players with good fixtures. So that was that question really. That was the main bit I wanted to talk about. I'll have a quick look at his team as well. Sarr and Sanchez is good. Trent, I've cut off half of it. I'll come back to that. Right, next one. Sarr, Guaita, Walker, VVD, Shah, Saliba, Sessegnon. That's pretty good. Kulusevski, KDB, JWP, Rodri and Neto, Mitrovic, Martial, Watkins. We had our draft after week 1, and I think it was a little bias. I don't think so. I think there's one pick here that stands out. You didn't mention how big your league is. I'm assuming about 10 man-ish. 8 to 10 would be my guess. Rodri. Come on. Rodri? You can't be having Rodri in draft FPL, I'm afraid. Get rid. There are so many wingers, number 10s from the smaller teams that will outscore Rodri. Get him in the bin. Especially if you can just flip them for the good fixtures. At this point, sorry, just a quick question from the chat. At this point, should I just sit on Antonio, afraid of him getting benched later on? I think if he starts this week coming, I would offer out trades left, right and centre to just see if you can get rid of him, because in my humble opinion, the end is nigh. I see him getting benched. I just don't think his form has been pretty shocking for a while now. And I think if he gets benched and you can't get in the starting 11, you could end up with a completely worthless pick. You made that trade with Koulibaly. Yeah, good trade. Good work, Brendan. Right, next one. Let's go for this one. So we have here, this is a 12-team league. As you can see, I scribbled in the top of the screenshot. Ramsdale and Bazanu, that's fine. Cancelo, Chilwell, Dean, Aït-Nouri and Doherty is a pretty strong back five. Sterling, Grealish, Neto, Solanke and Bamford with Alvarez, Grealish and Elise on the bench. So he's hiding Elise, which is fine. Palace's fixtures stink. That's the only thing. So I am just a bit wary about Palace for, like, I had Elise. I drafted him in a couple of leagues, and I kind of wish I didn't, because I knew the fixtures were bad. I knew he was an injury doubt, and I knew I was going to drop him, realistically, because I'm not. It's not like I'm desperate for him for a Liverpool away, for City, like for Chelsea. I think they've got as well. All these, I mean, their fixtures are ridiculously bad, and it's the same with the defenders as well. You need to be able to hide them. So yeah, Elise. I mean, you may well be able to hide him. This team looks pretty good, so you may be able to hide him. I would seriously consider starting Guedes if it looks like he's going to start. I think there's a pretty decent chance he starts. I mean, he may well start on the bench, but the fixture is good, and I wouldn't want to miss out if he did start. But I can understand why you've benched him. Maybe Solanke might, but he's got pens. You can get a pen anytime. Bournemouth could hit him on the break. He's probably the only one that's got a chance. Yeah, this is a good team. 12 for a 12-team league. This is good. You've got no like real heavy hitting forward, but I guess you went Cancelo in the first round, and then I only got Sterling. I missed that completely. Oh yeah, so Sterling, Cancelo. That's great. Yeah, it's a good team. Next one from Garfield. Ariola Martinez is good. It's fine. It's pretty good actually. Cancelo, Target, Malacia, Dyer and Laporte. See, he's hiding Laporte and Jota, which is a little bit scary to have to hide both of them. But the rest of the team is pretty solid. Cancelo, obviously, you're going to start every week. Matty, Target, you're going to start other than the real tough games. So that's pretty good. Although they've got a tough one in 3 and 5. Malacia, I don't love. Dyer's fine. You just got to really play the fixtures with 2 injured players. You've got to really be on the ball and be prepared to drop Malacia. Be prepared to maybe have to drop Dyer if things are looking really ropey, or make a trade for one of these 2. Zaha, Ericsson, Coutinho, Almiron, Grealish. That is a pretty good midfield. Kane and Darwin is lovely up front. Lovely. When Jota's back, this team, when both of these 2 are back, this team looks unreal. Okay, I'm going to quickly swap over to the chat quickly, see if I've caught up any thoughts on my team, any changes. Ederson and Ward, Cancelo, Van Dijk, Matip, Target, Anderson. I love the defence. Foden, Harrison, Trossard, Fornals, Neves, Mitro, Watkins and Mbeumo. The player that would be on the chopping block for me is Neves, but if you're gonna bench him anyway, it's not a big deal really. But he would be the first person I'd look to get rid of, but I wouldn't be in a particular rush. Hwang or Guedes, really difficult to say. I think eventually Guedes gets the shirt. For this week, it will more likely be Hwang. I think long term Guedes is the better pick, personally. Just saw Cornet is free in my league. 8-man, worth picking up. Again for Neto or Bailey. That's tough. I would say probably worth picking up. Yes. The problem is if you don't pick him up this week and he plays well, you probably won't get a chance to get him. Gerard made a weird comment about Bailey about how sharp he looks. I would leave it probably. Just. Come on, boys, let's get him to 24 likes. Yeah, I agree, Leah Bell. Come on, 24 likes. Let's get at least a 20. We're on 15, so that's much better than earlier. That's much better. Ake, Matip, Saliba, Perisic. Which 2 would you bench? I would bench... That is really tough. I would probably bench... Oh, I don't know. I would probably... The problem is, if you bench James or Perisic, you could bench a 10-point return. I don't think there's going to be a clean sheet in that game, which means worst case scenario, you're probably benching like 8 points. So I'd probably bench James and Perisic and just hope for goals and hope they're not involved. Can you explain how waivers work? Yeah, I'll do it really quick. So basically, when the game week finishes, every single player in the game that's free goes onto waivers, which means they're locked from free transfers. You can't change your team until the waiver deadline. The waiver deadline is 24 hours before the game week deadline. So, like this week, the game week deadline's 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. So the waiver deadline's 11 o'clock on Friday morning, 24 hours before. You queue up any changes you'd like to make. They're like pending until the waiver deadline. So say you wanted, in this team I've got on the screen, say you wanted to trade, let's just say Malacia for, I don't know, Matty Cash, right? You would then queue that trade. When the waiver deadline passes, whoever's got the highest priority gets their trade, and then it goes on to the next person. If the player you've asked for has already been picked, then that player is gone. You can't get him. It then filters down through all your priority lists. You get, dark mode. It then filters down through all the priority lists. You get whoever you got. And then from then until the game week deadline, everything is on free transfer. You can make as many trades as you want. So that's a quick overview. Thanks for picking up my question from the front. It's valuable input. You're welcome. You're very welcome, Thomas. Can you rate my team? Yes, I will quickly. Lloris, Gaeta, pretty good. Very good. Diaz, Dyer, Saliba, White. You said Saliba twice there. I'm guessing you've got another defender, not his twin. Luis Diaz, Mahrez, Grealish, Lingard, Eriksen, Kane, Wilson, Solanke. This is a good team for an 8-man league. I don't love the Eriksen pick. A lot of people have him. I guess he's probably going to start the majority of games. They are actively looking for another central midfielder. I didn't like him at false 9. He's not very good with his back to goal, I don't think. But yeah, it's a good team. It is a very good team. I love the Kane, Wilson, Solanke is very nice. Defense is pretty good too. With so many transfer rumours, would adding someone like Fofana to stash make sense? Yeah, if you've got a spot, I mean, even if he stays, he's not the worst pick ever. So I would say it's worth it, especially if you've got a spot. Like if you've got a player you're not going to play this week and you're happy to take the plunge, then I would. Is my team good? I'm sure it is. Alisson, Trippier, Van Dijk, Diaz, Grealish, Bowen, Sterling, Haaland, Salah, Darwin Núñez. That is a very good team. And Cancelo. Yes, that's a very good team. Can you somehow filter for locked players? Bit annoying to check every team in the league to see what transfers they've made. Can you somehow filter for locked players? I'm not 100% sure what you mean. I'm not, can you rephrase that question? I don't really understand the question. Should I drop 4 hours for Cornet or Guedes? Need one to start this game week? Ooh, I think 4 hours is the most likely to start this game week. So for this week, I would probably stick with him. Do you think Zaha is fixture proof? Yes. You notice in this Garfield screenshot that's still on screen, I did not mention Zaha at Anfield. I don't think it matters. I think he might actually have more. I haven't looked into the stats or the odds or the results, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets more of his points in these kind of games. Don't even look at the fixture if you own Zaha. Just start him. Does the priority reset every week? Like if I drafted 12th? No. So it resets every week, and it goes on FPL, on the official FPL website. It goes in reverse league table order. So every week, whoever's bottom will have first priority, and then it goes from there. Then score review. Oh, okay. Voss is picking it up. Well done. Good man. Right, let's go on to the next screenshot here. Danny Rojas. Here's my current team, 10-team league. Worried about Martial. Yeah, we all are. I own him in a couple of leagues, and I'm worried. I like the keepers. Just beware. I think at some point Guaita loses his place, and just be wary. Just like have it on your radar that Johnson may take the spot. So yeah, just keep an eye on that, I'd say. Then we've got Romero, Dina, Ake, Chilwell, Dalot, good defence. Sterling, Andreas Pereira, Luis Diaz, Gordon, and Pascal Gross. Martial, Wilson, Welbeck. This is my kind of team. I can't really quibble with any picks, to be honest. This is the kind of team... I have a team very similar to this, actually. Very similar. Yeah, I like it. I mean, Martial's a pain, but you just have to wait. You just have to wait. I mean, how he's looking in pre-season, I think he'll get back in the side. I'm not too concerned about Martial. It's annoying having to bench him when they have good fixtures and you think, oh, what could have been? But it is what it is. You just have to wait, in my opinion, on that. Next one. Should I drop Gallagher? 14-man league or active. 14 is tough. 12. The most I've ever done is 12, and that is tough. So 14 must be horrendous. To have 3 playing forwards, I mean, I know Watkins didn't start in game week 1, but to have 3 playing forwards in a 14-man league is pretty wild. And 2 starting keepers. Gallagher... I think Gallagher... I don't think he's going to play for a while. I don't think you're going to get caught with your pants down if you drop him. If you think there are better options on the waivers, then I wouldn't hesitate in dropping him, to be honest. I don't think you'll get too caught out by it. It doesn't strike me that he is like about to break in and it doesn't seem like he's about to go on a tear, in my opinion. 11-man league. Thinking of changing Bailey for Almiron, Gomes, Party of Fornals. Okay, let's have a look at this. Pickford, Ramsdale. That's fine. Ake, Trippier, Cucurella, Sessegnon, and Romero. Okay, double Spurs defence. That's fine. That's good. Good defence. Sessegnon obviously a big risk for minutes. So is kind of Cucurella, but the rest are pretty solid. Saliba and Sancho, Martinelli, Bailey is an unreal midfield 5. That is very good. You don't need to touch that, I don't think. Johnson, Mope, Martial. Mope is a bit of a left field pick. I just don't think he's going to get his place in the team. I think he's more likely to leave than anything else. Other than Mope, I think this team is really good, and I would just hold Bailey, especially for this week. I think Everton at home is a good fixture. He probably may well end up. Well, that's a complete. I was going to talk absolute nonsense then, so just ignore that. But yeah, I think you're more than happy to just sit on this team. Just be patient would be my advice, Jack. Okay, last one. I have cropped the name off this, so I don't know who sent this to me. But if this is your team, then you know, right? So it's fine. Ramsdale and Guaita, Zinchenko, Romero, Creswell, Chilwell, and Gabriel. Okay, benching Gabriel. I'll get back to that. Son, Diaz, Coutinho, Rashford, and Smith Rowe, the midfield. Welbeck, Wilson, and Jota. I think the front 3 is fine. Don't touch that, in my opinion. Just let that simmer. The midfield is good, other than Smith Rowe, who I think is droppable if you have a good option on the freeze. I don't think he is undroppable in a 10-man league. And the defence, I would not be benching Gabriel here. There's no way I would be benching Gabriel over Romero. Even though it's double, I get you then have triple Arsenal defence, right? Which is a big risk. And I'm guessing that's why you've benched Gabriel. But if you don't like tripled Arsenal defence, don't have all three. Like trade one, unless no one in your league, unless you've got trades turned off, which some do, I think, or no one will trade with you. You shouldn't have all three if you're not prepared to start them all in a good fixture. And I think Leicester at home is a good fixture these days, right? Leicester aren't in a good way, really. So I would just start all three. And I would probably do it for Romero. Okay, back to the chat quickly. So Thomas has managed to figure out the transactions tab. It took me, to be honest, every year on the FPL site, it takes me ages to figure it out. It seems so confusing. It is not straightforward at all. I don't know why they hide bits of the website on random links. What formation would you play? Ederson, I would obviously start. Cancelo, VVD, Matip, Target, Anderson, Foden, Harrison, Trossard, Fornals, Neves, Mitro, Watkins. Thoughts on 3-5-2? I would rather start Mbeumo at United than Neves. I'd also start Target over Neves. I would probably bench Neves for one of Target or Mbeumo, whoever you fancy more. Probably Mbeumo, but I generally favour the attackers, and that is a bit of bias from me. Is Tomiyasu a hold or a sell right now? Honestly, in my opinion, if you can bench him, bench him. If you need a start, if you're having to play the likes of, I don't know, if you're having to play a Tottenham centre-back this week, or if you're having to play someone with a less than decent fixture, I would just get rid, I'm afraid. Anyone else struggling with the limit of characters commenting? You know, I assumed that is why many people squeeze their comments in the Rate My Teams. That's fair. Skamaka or Welbeck for game week 2? I would say Welbeck. I think Skamaka will. Skamacha is probably Skamacha. I've been saying Skamaka. That's definitely not right. It must be Skamacha. I would say Skamacha doesn't start this week, but probably next week. He may start. I don't know. But what does Fantasy Football Scout think? Fantasy Football Scout thinks that he is benched, and I agree. Probably one more week for Antonio. Sent you mine in DMs. Okay, I will find that in a sec. Any thoughts on West Ham defence? Decent defence. I think decent defence. They looked. Obviously, they'll be better when they've got some fit centre backs. But I'm not concerned about them. They'll be probably a 7th to 11th defence this season. Rate my team. Mendy, Sanchez. Okay, that's good. Matip, Laporte, Burn, Sessegnon, Cash, Son, Saka, Martinelli, Gordon. We're missing a midfielder, bud. Havertz, Watkins, and Edouard. Good team. I don't know how big your league is, but the team is pretty good. No real weak spots. I'm assuming it's not a massive league. Probably 8 max would be my guess. Been offered Fernandes and Bamford for Saka and Watkins. Would you accept? I would not accept that. Sorry, I would accept that. Been offered Bruno and Bamford for... I don't know which ones are yours, but I would take Fernandes and Bamford, I think. Oh, would I? Bruno's tough. I do think he will become a better asset than he is right now at some point this season. So I would go for. I think Bruno is a slightly worse option than Saka. I think Bamford may be a better option than Watkins. Oh, that's tough. That's a really tough one, actually. Sorry, not sure. If you're 50-50, I'd probably stick with what you got, because then you won't regret it. Would you take Guedes over Podence? For this week, probably not, but for long term, probably yes. Someone in my 8-team league just traded Haaland, and now it's both Kane and Haaland. Is it already over? No, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, the big hitters look good, but they don't win you the league. The players that win you draft leagues are the mid-tier picks that you can accumulate. Like having 4 or 5 mid-tier picks that all perform consistently, I would take over 2 big boys. I mean, Kane and Haaland is good, and if the rest of his team is good, then it might be over. JVB, I would. Fantasy Football Sound says higher seasonal predictions. Yeah, it's close. I'd say it's close. Start Zaha or Guedes. I would start Zaha always. I wouldn't even look at the fixture. I saw Antonio has a knock, so I wasn't sure. Yeah, he does have a knock, but I don't think it's a big deal. I think he starts. In fact, stand by. Let's have a look on my trusty website that I just got up a second ago. What are they saying about Antonio? Where am I? Premier League injury news. All injuries. Anything happened today? Mikel Antonio. Mickey has a bit of a knock, but he's trained today, so we'd expect him to be okay. That seems to me like he's going to play. That seems to me like he's probably going to play. What else we got? Who to choose from? 2 out of these 3. Aronson, Podence, 8 Nori. Probably 8 Nori and probably the 2 attackers actually. Aronson and tough. Aronson definitely, and one of the Wolves guys. It depends on how much you like squirming over clean sheets. I'd probably take Podence. Pretty sure it is Scamacca with a K. Oh, damn it. Really? Is he Italian? Or have I just made that up? I'm sure he's Italian, isn't he? So you'd think that would be... let's have a look. What is Wikipedia is underratedly good at telling you pronunciations. Oh, it doesn't have it. Perfect. I mean, he is Italian. So you would guess Scamacca. But I have heard Scamacca a lot. Okay, it's not important. I don't know why I'm spending so much time on that. Would you have a quick review of my 8-man team? Of course. Pope, Raya, that's fine. Chilwell, Cash, Ake, Perisic, Romero. Pretty good. Very good, actually. Bailey, Neto, KDB, Diaz, Foden. Midfield is looking strong. Watkins, Tony, Solanke. Obviously not as strong up front, but still 3 decent options. Who would you bench this week? I would bench this week Solanke, Romero, and one other. Probably Chilwell, I think. But that is the Furno one is tricky. That is a really good midfield. That's a really good team, actually. Love your channel. Thank you very much. I'm sure the viewers will come. It's not about the viewers. I just enjoy making the content, right? So I don't really. It's fun. The thing is, right, with like content and viewers and stuff. I love talking about draft, as you can probably tell. And I never really had... Obviously, I would talk with my mates in our league about it all the time. And then I just thought, I really wish there was a YouTuber that talked about draft like a couple of years ago, or like a podcast that was about Draft Premier League, because we loved it. So then we just thought, well, let's start talking about it. That was kind of it, really. We did a few podcasts that were kind of bad at first, as expected, and then now I just started doing some YouTube videos as well as the podcast, and now here we are, really. But yeah, I just like talking about it, really. So where can I submit my team to get it rated? You can just type it in the chat, Kian, if you want. That's probably the easiest way. I will also accept DMs or comments, but the easiest way to get your team rated is just type it in the chat. It is quite tough with the character limit, but I'm sure you can figure it out. What website is that for injuries? It seems awesome. It is the best website. I'll get it up again just to show you again. Let me make sure I pick the right thing. There we go. So it is premierinjuries.com. It's basically a website based around Ben Dinnery's Twitter feed, but it's easier to figure out what's going on. So it's Premier Injuries, and this is the injury table. Premierinjuries.com injury table. And it basically just has every team. I did talk about it right at the start of the stream, but people may have missed it. Has every team with every player, anything that's been said in a press conference, potential returns. It's like the FPL flag system, but way, way better. And I will pump this website every day of the week. So Ben Dinnery, I have no connection to him at all, obviously. I just love the website and use it all the time. So it's a good thing to use. Anyway. Would you play Zaha versus Liverpool away over any of these? Vardy, Mitro, Havertz, Harrison, JWP, Lingard, Podence. All have such good fixtures. What a headache. It's almost horrible benching someone with a good fixture, but it's a good problem to have. It's better than when you can't pick anyone that you want to start. I would go for... I'd probably bench Podence out of all of those. Liverpool away, it looks hard, and it is hard, and it looks bad, but you just have to think, picture Zaha scoring a goal, like in your head. How does it happen? Is him running in behind, taking someone on and putting it in the bottom corner, or like running into space at a back four and doing someone, or getting a pen because he's run past the centre-back, right? How often does he get those opportunities against teams that sit really deep? Not that often. How often does he get those opportunities against a team that sit with their defence on the halfway line? More often, even if they have the ball less. So you kind of have to just... Some players, you just throw the fixture in the bin and play them every week. Because if you bench Zaha for bad fixtures, you'll bench a lot of points. If I have Zinchenko and Gabriel, should I start Podence instead of one of them to diversify or triple down on Arsenal defence? Also, Ramsdale. Greg, I'm assuming this is your team that I talked about a second ago. I'm assuming. Let me get it back up again. I don't know if you posted this before I was talking about it or after I was talking about it or what. That was me. Yeah, I'd play them all. Good fixture, play all three, in my opinion. I've lost the team. Here it is. Yeah, I'd play all three. Leicester at home's a good fixture. It's risky. Is Greg? Is this a head-to-head league or is this classic? Because it does make a difference, I think. If it's classic, as in you just are only concerned about points, I would definitely play all three. Head to head. Okay, that makes it a little bit riskier because you're banking a decent chunk of your team on this one game. But even so, I would still like, you have to look at Romero versus Gabriel. That's the in my opinion, that is the decision here. You're definitely going to start Ramsdale, obviously, because you don't have a choice. Zinchenko, I think you definitely start because of the attacking return potential, and it's Leicester at home, so that's not a big deal. Cresswell's an easy start, and you can't start Jota or Smith Rowe. So the question is Gabriel versus Romero. Now, Gabriel has Leicester at home, Romero has Chelsea away. In isolation, you would start Gabriel every time. It's a mental thing that it's hard to have triple Arsenal defence, because as soon as they concede, you think that's 3 clean sheets wiped out. But the risk reward shouldn't be as important as the expected points. Like, Gabriel's expected points are higher than Romero's, so you should start him. The only time I wouldn't do that is if it's really close. Say Spurs had, let me think of a similar fixture. Say Spurs had West Ham away, then I would probably start Romero, because then it's kind of close enough that you might want to consider diversifying. And it also depends on who your opponent has. If they have if they're playing a Spurs defender, and you think the rest of your team is better than the rest of their team, you might want to match them up. But if you think their team is really good, then I would gamble and start Gabriel. But in this situation here, I would start Gabriel because I think the fixture is just that much better. Anyway, sorry to go back to that, but that's kind of my long-winded answer on that. Is Botman worth keeping since he's not starting? Great question. I own him in at least 2 leagues, maybe 3. And I can tell you now, he is, I'm pretty sure he's gone in 1 league, and he's on the chopping block in another. He may go in the other. I think he's going to start eventually, but I think you have time to pick him up again. So the more I think about it, right, let's do a long-winded answer again. So let me get up. So this is my thoughts on Botman. I had a little. I'm going to get up the fixture ticker. Stand by just 1 second. Let me get this up. FPL. So I'm going to go into. I think a lot of people own Botman. So I'm going to. 2-factor authentication. Bloody FPL and their security. How annoying. Standby stream. This is going to be worth it, I'm sure. While I'm doing this, like the stream. And make sure you're subscribed as well, because some of you aren't subscribed, I bet. I bet there's at least like 5 or 6 of you in here that are going to miss the next stream because you're not subscribed. So make sure you sub. Right, I'm in. So let me go on to stats. Right, Newcastle's fixtures. Okay. Let me put this over here. And right. So I've got the ticker up for Newcastle. I've got share up, but it's the same obviously for Botman. So, you can turn 2-factor authentication off. I know, but I only just turned it on. I just figured I don't want to get hacked, so I turned it on. But then, and it's never been a problem until this is the first time I've actually had to put a code in. So we look at Newcastle's team, right? So Eddie Howe went with Shah and Byrne and kind of rewarded them for playing well last year. Sorry, so yeah, he rewarded them for playing well last year, and they played well again. So you'd think that Shah and Byrne start again. Now, I think eventually the pairing will be Shah and Botman. That's my guess, but we don't know that for sure. So my theory is this. If you own Botman now, Brighton away he's probably, we don't know for sure, but he's almost certainly not going to start Brighton away. We don't know, again, we do not know for sure, but my guess is that he does not start Brighton away, and that's Shah and Burn again because they played well. Then they've got City at home. Well, you don't want a Newcastle defender in that anyway. So I wouldn't pick him up for that. Then they've got Wolves away. Now, this might be the first game Botman starts. But if you haven't picked him up yet, someone may pick him up for this. But I don't think they will because I don't think he would have started yet. I think it will be Shah and Burn for City. So no one will pick him up for Wolves unless they listen to this and play a double dip. So you don't need him for Wolves. He's not. I don't think it's worth. You can either pick him up now for Wolves away if you want and hope he starts there. Hello, Mike. Or you just leave it another week. Then it's Liverpool away. No one is picking him up for Liverpool away. So then you can either pick him up that week and bench him, or then you wait for this nice run of fixtures where they've got Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford. So you want him for game week 6. This is Botman I'm talking about in case anyone didn't notice. So I don't think you need him yet. You want him for game week 6. So how do you get him for game week 6? Well, he's not going to start yet. You either pick him up in game week 4 and hope he starts that one after they get probably beat by City, or you pick him up game week 5 and bench him for Liverpool away. But I think you can drop him safely and know that he's not going to get scooped unless someone else is canny and kind of betrays you. But that's my thoughts on Botman. I don't think it's necessary that you keep him, especially if you're looking at your Chelsea and Spurs defenders this week and thinking, I wish I could bench one of these. So yeah, long-winded answer, but that's what I'd go for. Must know, how can you play so many leagues? Can you watch a match, remember what you want to see or enjoy it? Do you know, that is a good question. Up until this year, I've never played more than 2 leagues. This year I'm playing 6 plus regular FPL. And I find it's actually easier to enjoy the games because I can't remember off the top of my head every single player I own. So I definitely can't remember who all my head-to-head opponents have. So I feel way more free when I'm watching the matches because I just watch them and see what happens, and then I just check my score at the end. Like, I don't even... I check the Snake Draft League, I know all my players, I know who I'm playing, because it is the league I care the most about, right? Even though it's not the most money on the line, it's the one we all want to win, our home league, against our mates who will take the you know what. So I know and I care about that one. The rest of them, I just watch the games and enjoy it and think, oh, that was a good goal, well, that was a good assist, I think I own him, I can't remember who I'm playing, so I just enjoy it. And it's great. It's really good. It's nice. The only problem is it's hard to keep track of who's on waivers in each league. But the good thing with FPL Draft, which 4 of them are FPL Draft, I don't have to worry so much because the waiver deadline's so close to the game week deadline. I just wait and then do it then. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. I mean, it may get to like Christmas and my head's exploded, but I mean, there's the guy that runs. I'm in a kind of draft FPL Discord community of leagues, and the guy that runs it's in like 15 leagues, so that is legit. I'm a novice compared to him. Matip got an injury, is now a doubt for Monday's game versus Palace. He started in my defence alongside Cancelo and VVD. Panicking right now. Should I get a free agent or put Target Anderson from my bench? If Matip is injured, you will get a defender from your bench. So I would put Target first on the bench. If Matip plays, great. If he doesn't, you get Matty Target. I would keep him. It's only a knock, if that. In fact, I'm going to show you something else. I'm full of knowledge today. This website, Fantasy Football Scout, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this. I'm sure most people have heard of Fantasy Football Scout. You may not have. I mean, it's massive for FPL. On their website, you can go on fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, click on Team News, Predicted Lineups, and they update these. They used to be kind of rubbish, these lineups. Like, you'd look and think, I don't think that's right. But in the last couple of seasons, they've got really good. So I just quite often will look at these and double check that what I think is going to happen is what they think is going to happen. And if not, I kind of will then make a judgment on what I think is right. So Liverpool, they are saying they think Matip will play. This was last updated on Monday. So they've not updated the Liverpool one since the team news. I would imagine they'll probably update it tomorrow morning. Matip, okay, this one is kind of irrelevant then. But you just start Matip and then you get Target if you want him. Dropping him for Burn. I need one to bench Romero. Yeah, that's a good idea. Evan Bayer, thoughts on my squad? 8-team league. Ramsdale and Pope, that's good. Zinchenko, Perisic, Trent, Ake, Fofana. Good defence. Diaz, Coutinho, Barnes, Trossard, Zaha, Welbeck, Wilson, and Burmo. That is a good, solid team. I'm interested to know who your second pick was, Evan. So you went Trent, obviously, first round. Oh, Diaz. Okay, you went Trent and Diaz. That makes sense. This is a good team. I'm somehow skipped straight over Diaz. So I'm guessing you were like 8th pick or 6th pick and you got Trent and Diaz. Yeah, good team. Good team. You think Guedes is a good pickup? Yes, I do. Especially if you're in a slightly bigger league. I think he will be... I'm guessing similar to Neto is where I'm kind of pitching him. Obviously, I'll have to wait and see. You can never really be too sure of stuff like this. But that's where, in my kind of mid-season rankings, not that I'm making mid-season rankings, but the rankings in my head, that is kind of where I'm pitching him. If you own Cash and Dean in head-to-head, would you be okay playing them both every week, regardless of fixtures, because of a possible attacking returns? Or would you look to move one on? I wouldn't play them every single week. I wouldn't quite put them in that category, but I would play them in the majority of weeks. This is Cash and Dean, I think, is the... Okay, let me get up their fixtures and talk about this a little bit. Cash and Dean, I think, is the classic double up that in the right string of fixtures is unbelievably good, and in the wrong string of fixtures is not good. So let me just get the fixtures up. Okay, so right, so these are the fixtures, right? So you've got Everton at home, Palace away, the next two. They're fine. I would be happy to double up on them there. Then from 4 to 7, West Ham at home, Arsenal away, City at home, Leicester away. You don't... Even Palace away is tricky. I know they have it as 2, but these rankings are useless. This spell from 3 to 7 is not really a good time to own double defence. And I know I said earlier about triple Arsenal, like if they're all good picks, but Arsenal, Cash and Dean are both good picks. But if you can trade one of them for an equally good pick, at the moment is a good idea. Because when you look at these fixtures, like it doesn't, I wouldn't expect them to get a lot of their points in this run. Now, if we scroll down a bit and look at from game week 8 onwards, when they play Saints at home, Leeds away, Forest away, Chelsea at home, Fulham away, Brentford at home, Newcastle away, United at home, Brighton away. So 8 to 16, there's only really one bad fixture and one like medium, like Newcastle away is like medium bad. So from 8 to 16, it's a great time to double up, but you really kind of need to time it on the fixtures. Bro, could you answer my... what was your... Let me try and find your Tomiyasu question. I may have missed it by accident. What... Stand by. Is Tomiyasu a hold or sell right now? I think he's a sell. If there's a good waiver option. I don't know when he's coming back. Let me get my... What was the... What is there any latest prognosis on Tomiyasu? Was there anything said today? Okay, so he's not even on here, so he's probably fit. I'm assuming from this. Let me just have a look here, see if. So the other thing I'll do quite often is go on Twitter and just search at Ben Dinnery, and then just type the player's name, Tomiyasu. Go on latest. Okay, so Mikel Arteta said Kieran Tierney looks to be in perfect condition following his cameo at Selhurst Park. Fabio Vieira, ESR and Tomiyasu are training fully, and some of them will be in the squad tomorrow. So I don't think that means Tomiyasu starts. Some of them will be in the squad. Sounds like none of them will start. So I would be happy to bin Tomiyasu for this week. I don't think he's an amazing pick anyway, because I just see him sharing minutes with Ben White. Now you could get stung, and you could drop it. If you drop him, you have to be prepared that you might not get him back, and you might have lost the starting fullback for Arsenal. But he's not that attacking, so it's not really the end of the world. And if you really need a defender this week, your options to replace him are Leeds defenders: Maguire, Tarkowski, Konsa, Byrne, Hickey, Lamptey, Perro. I mean, none of them are fantastic options, are they? What's the rest of your defence? And like, how many are you? Can you bench him? Like, do you need him to play? That's the question I'd ask. If you desperately need him to play this week, then drop him. Like, if you need this spot in your team to be a starter this week, then get rid. But if you don't, there's no mad rush. But you can easily bench him. Like there's no like standout options really in that list anyway. With larger leagues, have you ever had any rules about picking up new signings after the draft? No, we just play it by ear. We just see in our home league, we you can bench him, then don't worry about it. Bench him. That would be my advice on Tomiyasu. Wait and see. Like a lot of the time, the best answer is wait and see. Yeah, so in our standard home league, the Snake Draft League, Snake Draft FPL, what it's named after, we run it on a website called draftfantasyfootball.co.uk, and the waiver system in that is it starts reverse draft order, then it never resets throughout the season. So when you use a waiver, you go to the bottom of the list, but you can just save a waiver. So people will often, if there's a big transfer rumoured, people will hope for 12th pick in the draft in the hopes that they can use that waiver spot. And then if they can't, they might save it all the way until January. It's happened before. I mean, a guy in our league, Brad, saved his waiver for the whole half a season and then got Bruno Fernandes in January and did really well. So that's how we run it. Would you do Sanchez and Areola this week as well? Do what with them? My team is Pope, Sarr, Robbo, Matip, Stones, Thiago Silva, Aspi, Mount, Saka, Mahrez, Maddison, Gundogan, Watkins, Wilson, Welbeck. 7-person league. Would you rate it? Of course. Good keepers, fine. Robbo, Matip, Stones, Thiago Silva, Aspi. Okay. The defence is interesting because Stones, I think, may be on the chopping block if this was my team. Just because there is a world where Thiago Silva, Azpilicueta and Stones all don't play. Like, it's not likely. It's very unlikely. But it could happen. And I don't love that. Mount, Saka, Mahrez, Maddison, Gundogan, that is really good. Watkins, Wilson, Welbeck is good as well. So you have the bench to cover it. But the Stones, Thiago Silva, Aspi trio kind of would concern me. Just because there's a chance they don't all play. And then you're really, you're putting out a zero then. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's a mad rush. Who would you start between Sanchez and Areola? Probably Areola. I think their odds for a clean sheet, according to the bookies, are higher. So that's what I would go with. This year we've said no picking up said new transfers until the window closes, and then we allocate. Oh, so you're kind of redrafting. Because otherwise whoever just happens to start with the worst. Yeah, that is what I hate about FPL draft. The reverse waiver system, in my opinion, stinks. Because it rewards people for doing badly, which I don't like. Like, it should be competitive. You shouldn't get rewarded for having the worst team. In my opinion. But there we go. That's the game we play. But I like that. We actually thought about doing a redraft this year after the World Cup. So we toyed with the idea of doing a draft at the start of the season, right? So for the first 17 weeks until the World Cup, we have our teams and we do everything as normal. Then at some point during the break, we would do another draft, like offline, on a big like board, redraft the whole league, and then somehow trade it all about on the website, and then go for the second half of the season with a completely fresh draft, but obviously keep our position in the table. And I kind of wish we'd done that, to be honest. Like, I think that would have been really fun. But for our main league, it seemed a little bit, I don't know. Okay. Would you start De Gea or Sanchez this week? Ooh. That's a tough one. And in these kind of scenarios where neither keeper is particularly good for save points, right? Or bonus. So you're banking on a clean sheet. So what I do, and this may not be an option to everyone, but what I do in this scenario is I will go on Sky Bet or any bookie, but just because Sky Bet is the first one I see on my phone, and I will go on the odds of a team conceding. So team to score one or more goals Saturday. So the odds of who was it? De Gea versus Sanchez, right? So the odds of Newcastle scoring are 1.36. So the odds of Brighton conceding a goal are 1.36 to 1. So that's decimal, 1.36. And the odds of Brentford scoring are 1.36. So the bookies have it as an exact equal. So toss a coin, flip a coin. The bookies have it equal. It seems about equal to me. I mean, it could. Yeah, that's not helpful at all. I personally would probably just go for the person that's playing at home in that scenario. I fancy Brentford to score. What would you do with Barnes? Just keep, wait and see. No rush. Leicester's fixtures are okay. Don't go too mad after game week 1. Who would you start between I've done that, I think. Sanchez and Areola. I would definitely start Areola. Start 1, Romero, Jack Harrison or Bamford. Oh, definitely one of the Leeds boys. Bamford would be my start. But I like I'd want to start Harrison as well. But Bamford would be the one I'd pick. Having Koulibaly and Romero this week is rough. It is rough, but it happens. Just think next week they'll both have good fixtures. So it's only 1 week. Can you look at my team in a second, Joe? Let me know if I should change my lineup. Pretty please. I can post on here if you... No, it's all right, Mike. I'll get it up. In fact, I'll put it on the screen for everyone to see. Let's have a look. So Mike is in the Snake Draft League. I don't know who he's playing this week, but I can get his team up quite easily. I think. I'm not too hot on the website. Why can I not see team? Okay, I can't get it up on the website. I'm going to look at it on my phone and read it out. So in our league, we have Kante points as well as normal points, which means it's standard FPL scoring, but we also get 1 point per every 2 tackles or interceptions, which just brings in a few more midfielders into the mix. So Mike's team is as follows. He's got Ramsdale in goal, and that's his only keeper, so that's easy. Walker-Peters, Tierney, Diaz, Malacia are his defenders at the moment. Zaha, Bruno, Pereira, Odegaard, Cornet in midfield. Havertz up front. And then on his bench, he's got Jorginho, Alvarez, Koulibaly, and James Justin. I think you've got it about right, Mike. I don't think there's anyone I would change. The only danger is that Tierney gets 1 point or Malacia gets 1 point, or they both get 1 point because neither of them start. But there's not much you could do about it. You could consider dropping James Justin to pick up someone with a great fixture and start him over Malacia. That would be, if I was going to do anything, that would be it. But I don't think there's anything major. Sent you my team on Twitter, mate. Okay. Let me get the Twitter. Let me get the DMs up. Okay, Kian. Right, so the ones you've sent on Twitter, I'm not going to get them up on the screen because I can't manipulate it easily. So I'll just read it out. So the keepers are Mendy and Gaeta. That's good. Defense, Saliba, Ake, Zinchenko, Dina, Tomiyasu benched. Okay, that's fine. Midfield, Son, Mount, Mahrez, Martinelli, and then Barnes benched. Fine, that's good. Tony, Darwin, and Watkins, and you've benched Watkins. You kind of have to, I guess. I don't love benching Watkins at home to Everton, but there's not really much else you can do. In fact, I can get this up on screen. Let me do that quickly. There's just not much else you can do. I kind of get that. This is the team I'm looking at. I don't love benching Watkins, but who else would you bench, right? You're not going to bench. I don't think you bench Tony or Darwin. Definitely not Darwin, obviously. Can't bench Martinelli or Mahrez or Mount or Son. You do have to bench Watkins, I think. Yeah, this team is good, and I think you've set it up right. Good team, and that's how I'd set it up. It didn't look right at first having Watkins on the bench, but I guess if he doesn't play, you are kind of scuppered. So, yeah, that's fine. That's a good team. Okay, what else have I got in the Twitter DMs? There's a few more that have come in quickly, so I'll do this. We have got, who else? Someone else, Freddie. I'm assuming it's lit. I'm assuming that is you. So let's get this one up. So keepers, Henderson and Gaeta. There's a lot of. Everyone seems to have Gaeta. I've seen him about 50 times this evening. Not that there's anything wrong with him really, but it just seems interesting that everyone has him. Henderson's good though. I think Henderson low key, if he's free in one of your leagues, I think he's going to be the guy. I think he's going to be that guy, like that keeper that gets a shed load of points. I just have a feeling like the save points are going to rack up. So I really like that. Cash, Maguire, Zuma, Romero and Davis benched. Yep, I like that. Gross, Guedes, Sterling, Martinelli, Lingard. This is good midfield. I really like that. Obviously, you kind of have to be prepared that Guedes might be benched and come off the bench, but he can hurt Fulham from the bench, I think. So there's a chance of that, but it's not the end of the world. Pascal Gross isn't obviously going to do what he did against United every week, but it's a decent enough fixture and he's a decent player, so that's fine. Watkins and Havertz up front, Jota benched. This is a really strong team. Really strong team. 12-man league as well. This is a very good team for a 12-man league. Obviously, you're a little bit light at the back. I don't love the Maguire pick, but what are you going to do? You could look at maybe dropping Ben Davis. I'm not convinced Ben Davis is in their best 11 anymore. He probably is. I mean, there's just the Lenglet. I mean, Lenglet's a bit of a doubt, isn't he? So he's probably gonna Ben Davies is gonna start this week, but you don't want him this week. So, but for the time being, I'd leave it. Yeah, I think it's a good team. Good team. Well done. You've done well there. What else have we got? Could you please review this team? Thanks a ton in advance. So I love this Wolves keeper kit, by the way. Jazzy. I love it. Sarr and Pope, decent. Robertson, Matip, Thiago Silva, Stones, Azpilicueta. I've kind of talked about the Stones pick before. I think I've already reviewed this team. This is the team I just did, isn't it? Okay, I'll skip this one. Luca, just sent you my team. Please let you know how I line up this week. Will do, boss man. Let me get this bad boy up. So, we have Sanchez and Bazunu. That is fine. Cancelo, Cash, Romero, 8 Nori and Dallo. That is pretty good, I'd say. Not much wrong with that. Midfield, Sterling, Sancho, Neto, Bailey, Almiron. Oh, I like that midfield. That's a spicy midfield. I like it. Do you think Webster is a good punt this week over Justin, Mike? Yes, I do. Forwards, Watkins, Awanai, Solanke, I think is pretty good. I would definitely have Solanke at the front of this bench ahead of these two boys, just for the pens. Should I drop Buendia for Bailey? In my opinion, yes. In my opinion, I would have Solanke definitely at the front of the bench, and maybe there's a case to be made to start him, because if Bournemouth get any return in this game, it's going to be on the break. It's going to be a counter attack, in which case Solanke is definitely involved. It's going to be a set piece or a pen, and he is 2/3 of those he's involved with. So I'd put him at the front of the bench, and I'd consider starting him over Romero. Like, what's more likely, Bournemouth score or Spurs keep a clean sheet at the Bridge for the first time in years? So, yeah, that's what I'd consider doing. Solanke, Romero, I think, is the most benchable person here. But yeah, good team. I like it. Tierney and Malacia likely to play this week, in your opinion? That is a tough one. I think Tierney, no. I don't think he's likely to start. He could, but I would say he's less than 50-50 to start. Malacia, I think probably will start. But again, don't know. I think both of them will get at least a point. Malacia, I think, is more likely to start than... I'd put Malacia at 60-40 yes. Tierney at 70-30 no. I think. Is how I would rank them. Kind of. But that is just pulled out of my... It's not... I wouldn't say that's particularly good. Okay, I've got another one DM'd me here from Giannis. Well, I guess it's not the real Giannis, would be my guess. It would be pretty cool if he was DMing me, but I'm pretty sure it's not him. So, let's have a look at this. Henderson and Rodak is pretty good. Obviously, Rodak is probably going to lose his place to Leno. But not yet, I don't think. Romero, Koulibaly, Webster. Bench is Guehi and Botman. Okay. Dewsbury Hall, Sancho, Lingard, Bruno G, Almiron, midfield. That's pretty good. Haaland, Havertz, Solanke, front three is naughty. Really like the forwards. Midfield is pretty good. I like them. I wouldn't change the midfield. I think that's fine. The defence is the only thing I'd look to. I would consider trading out, transferring out Botman for someone with a good fixture, if there's someone with a good fixture available, and starting him over Romero. I'm just not keen on starting Romero this week. I have him. I'm actually down to start him at the moment in one league, but I'm going to flip that around soon. Because the more I think about it, I don't see this could bite me, and I could be completely wrong here. So I'm just giving my best guess, but I don't see Spurs keeping a clean sheet at the Bridge. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen. In which case, what are the chances that Romero gets an attack in return this week? Pretty low. So, in that case, it's very unlikely that he returns. Obviously, he could, but I would put him at maybe like a 10% chance he returns. Whereas you can probably pick up at least a 40% clean sheet chance on the waivers. Any thoughts on Demarai Gray in a 12-man league? I'm dubious. I just don't know how good he is. Like, how good is he? I just cannot figure him out. Sometimes he looks unbelievable and sometimes he looks just shocking. I cannot figure out Demarai Gray for the life of me. I as much as I try, I just can't figure him out. But I don't think he's a bad pick by any means. I think he's a fine pick. But yeah, that's what I'd say about that. What was it? There was one I was just talking about. Okay, is benching Kulusevski and starting Bowen the right decision? Oh, I don't like benching Kulusevski ever, to be honest. But it depends who you're starting over him. I'd like to start both Bowen and Kulusevski, but I don't know what your team is. Is it in the I think it's in the chat somewhere, but I'm not going to see it straight away. Oh yeah, okay. Trippier, Van Dijk, Diaz, Grealish, Bowen, Sterling, Salah, Cancelo. I see your problem. I would probably bench. Ooh. I'd probably bench I'd probably bench Trippier. I'd bench Trippier over Kulusevski. I'd play Kulusevski, bench Trippier for your team, Alex. Emmanuel Dennis to Forest confirmed. Oh yeah, someone else asked about Dennis as well. I meant to come back to that. Emmanuel Dennis. Oh, he haunted me last season. I never owned him. I don't think. I just don't want to go there yet. I don't know who plays. I don't know how the system's set up. I don't think he's a world beater, so I'm more than happy to let someone else risk Dennis. I'm not interested. I think he could be a good pick. He definitely could be a good pick. He could be playing up front alongside Brennan Johnson. In which case Awoniyi drops out, but they've just spent a lot of money on him as well. They could change the system and drop Lingard. It's messy. It doesn't seem nailed on to start. I'm more than happy to just let it slide, let someone else pick him. Could be a good pick, but I'm happy to miss out on it. Is kind of my thoughts on it. If you're in 13-team draft and no starting forwards are available, and you don't have if you've got Nketiah, for instance, or someone of that ilk, pick him up. Then he's definitely better. Should I pick him up for Mateta? Yeah, I probably would. He's probably more likely to start than Mateta. I just think Edouard is the better player for Palace. So eventually it will be Edouard and Mateta will be... Edouard's link-up play is just so much better. I just don't think Mateta will keep the spot long term. My team is Ramsdale, Trippier, Cresswell, Chilwell. Good defence and keeper. Sterling, Aronson, Zaha, Diaz, Podence. Okay, good. Havertz, Mitrovic. bench, Gator, 8 Nori, Tierney, DCL. Thoughts on my team? 8-man league. In an 8-man league, I would say I would seriously consider putting DCL straight in the waste paper bin. Did we get an update from Frank today? Back to Premier injuries. I should just keep it open. I keep thinking I'm done with the injury website, and then it just pulls me back in. Did we get an update from Frank about DCL? No. Oh yes, sorry, yes. I think we're probably looking around 6 weeks. It's not related to previous injuries. That's probably worse. Dominic was looking great, really fit, really strong. Wow. So we're looking at mid-September. That is about 7 game weeks time. I think you can probably, if there's an okay forward, you could probably get rid of DCL. But the team is good. I like the team, and that's probably how I would set it up, I think. Just dropped Pascal Gross for Guedes for my 5th pick, 5th mid. You think that's smart? Yeah, I do think that's smart. I think the upside of Guedes is probably higher than the upside of Pascal Gross. I mean, it's always a risk when you're dropping a player that is pretty good. Like, Gross is pretty good, but I personally think you're chasing upside for Guedes, which is fine. I think he's more likely to be a top pick. Tom Sweeney, did you see my team? Yes, you did. I did, and it is the next one for me to click on. I'm going to do it right now, and then I'm going to end the stream. So this is going to be the final one for me. Let's have a look at this team. We have got Rodak and Raya, starting Rodak this week. Also, come on, Tom, put your phone on charge. 17% battery. Your phone's going to die before I finish critiquing your team. Keepers are okay. The only doubt is that Leno starts over Rodak this week. I don't think he will. I think it will still be Rodak for the time being, but obviously eventually that'll be a problem you have to solve. Defense: Ben White, 8 Nori, Zuma, Dunk, and Cher. That's good. Bruno, Andreas, Mahrez. Look at this bench. Whoosh, Flag City. Jesus and Watkins. So this is the kind of scenario. How many teams are in this league? Did you say? You might have said, but I haven't seen it. If you could just tell me in the chat how many teams are in this league. So this is the kind of scenario where holding on to players might not be worth it. Hang on, I might be able to see it in here. 10-man. Okay, 10-man. So Jimenez for me can go. I know it's annoying, especially if you drafted before he got the injury. It is very annoying. But I think Jimenez can go. What is up with Barnes? Back to Premier injuries. But honestly, this website saves me because it's impossible to keep up with every single injury. There's just too much going on. The press conferences are impossible to keep up with. He's been with the medical team. He has a knee irritation. I don't have an exact time frame. Ugh, I don't like that. I'd seriously consider getting rid of Barnes and Jimenez and Smith Rowe maybe as well. I know that's quite a big chunk of your team, and you don't really need him this week. Like, your lineup is fine, so you could maybe keep whoever you like, maybe Barnes, just and wait for an update because Barnes may be back sooner than the others. I think you can safely, as long as there's an okay forward, you can get rid of Jimenez. Someone like Welbeck or, Edouard maybe. Someone like that you could probably bin Jimenez for. Smith Rowe, I think, obviously he probably will be involved, but he's not going to start. I'd rather bank put my you don't have lots of midfield options, so I'd rather back someone that's going to get 90 minutes or close to it, 70 minutes instead of 20, which Smith Rowe's going to get, I would assume. So I would go for a waiver for Smith Rowe and maybe Jimenez as well. But the team is generally good. I just think you could bolster this midfield a little bit. Because you don't want to have to rely on all your defenders having good fixtures and having to swap them about every single week. So that's my FPL Sweet does a predicted lineup. Yeah, he does. I've seen that. It is good. It's useful. Second opinion. That's very predicted lineups are good, but they're very. The problem is we only know so much. You can only know as much as what the managers tell you. And beyond that, we're guessing. So, Fantasy Football Scout, Swedes lineups, my own thoughts on it. It's all guesswork, and some people are better than others, and some people know more than others. But in the end of the day, you've just got to go with whatever you can really. So I'd prefer sticking to a couple of second opinions are good. And kind of using your own thoughts on it as well. Right, I'm going to end the stream there, boys and girls. Thank you for joining me. If you have not yet liked the stream and you are currently in the stream, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, because I'll be doing these maybe not quite weekly, but I'm going to try and do one sort of around this sort of around the waiver deadline or around the game week deadline. I'm going to try and do them once every other game week at least is my aim. So thank you for watching. Like the stream, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for joining me. We will see you next time.